Welcome to Your Infinite Health. Are you getting older?
Are you feeling it?
How would you like to do that in reverse?
We're your host,
Dr. Tripp
and Lene.
We've run an integrative medicine practice for 13 years.
Together, we have 60 years of combined experience helping clients.
We've helped tens of thousands achieve success in health and live longer, happier lives.
In this show, we'll cover peer-reviewed and evidence-based integrative approaches to creating the health you've always wanted.
We also share professional experience we see in the field every day.
So if you're ready to feel, look, and live your best life, you're in the right place.
Welcome to Your Infinite Health podcast.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Lene here. Tripp will be joining shortly along with our guest. But before I bring the dudes on, I thought I'd tell you, I don't know if I had mentioned it before or not, but recently, like a couple of weeks ago, Tripp and I went to Bay St. Louis and we sat outside because it was a nice day out for dinner. And I did not know it at the time, but like the next day, my entire body, I kid you not, was eaten up by these no-see-um bug things. And I had worn a sundress. So I literally had like 47 bites on one leg alone. My other leg was just as bad. The bites were on my arms and my neck and my chest. It was horrible. And like day 3, I was woken up like at 3 a.m. scratching myself. I was in so much pain. And so I'm like, I'm awake and it's 3 a.m. and I'm Googling like, what's the fastest way to get rid of this bug pain? Like the pain from the itch. And I don't know, Reddit's like cold water will help with that. So at 3:10 a.m., I'm standing in the tub because the worst part, it was my ankles and my feet. Oh my God, bug bites on the feet are the worst. And the ankles, like just the worst. So I'm standing in the tub running cold water over my ankles and my feet, trying to get some sort of relief. And I realized it occurred to me that a couple of weeks prior, when I had been in St. Petersburg, Florida, visiting my daughter, we had gone to this little market, like a little, I don't know, it was a kind of an eclectic market. There were fruit and vegetable vendors there. There were artists there. There were handmade earrings there. But I came across this cream, and the woman on the banner, like, she's like, oh, it helps with eczema and bites and burns and I don't know, like TBI, like it was crazy, arthritis, like it had this list of all these things it helped with. And so I'm like, well, I'll try it. It's called Aloe Moist Organics. When the light bulb went on that I had that, I hopped out of the tub and I like slathered this stuff on my whole body and like literally was able to go back to sleep and probably did not have another itch until like 4 hours after I woke up. So I have become obsessed with that for those bug bites because I was literally scratching them to bleed. So it looked like I had sores all over my body, which is just not cool. But anyway, and then of course, a week or two after that, we go down to Miami to the Age Management Medical Group Conference. And while Tripp is getting educated, I take the opportunity to lounge out by the pool, and I got freaking burned. Like really, like I am a new woman because that burn, obviously eventually peeled. And so my whole front of my body is like a complete cellular turnover. But before it got to that point, I kid you not, this aloe moist organics body cream helped with the sunburn too. So I'm kind of thinking that list of maladies that woman had on that banner, like there must be something to it. So I wanted to share that with you in case you want to look it up. It's called Aloe Moist, not the best name really, organics. I will try to remember to put their website in the notes. This is not a paid advertisement. I have become addicted to this product. So if you get burned or your kids get burned or your kids are out and they have these bug bites, I really can vouch for this product. But that being said, I want to tell you a little bit about the guest we have on. His name is Udo Erasmus. He is allegedly legendary. He's the co-founder of Udo's Choice line, which can be found in Whole Foods and other health food stores worldwide. Udo designed the machinery for making oils with health in mind and pioneered flax oil, a billion-dollar industry. However, Udo walked a difficult path to become the man he is today. Being a child of war, his life began with intense struggle. As an adult, he got pesticide poisoning in 1980, leaving doctors at a loss regarding treatment. Deciding to take his health into his own hands, Udo began researching, and his discoveries led him to a passion for finding the answers to life's biggest questions, which would hopefully one day bring him and the world peace. Today, Udo is an acclaimed speaker and author of many books, including the best-selling Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, which has sold over 250,000 copies. He teaches at events hosted by Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra, has keynoted at an international brain health conference, and has traveled to over 30 countries to conduct thousands of live presentations, media interviews, and staff training, impacting more than 25 million lives with his message on oils, health, peace, nature, and human nature. Udo has an extensive education in biochemistry, genetics, biology, and nutrition, including a master's degree in counseling psychology. All right, Udo, thank you so much for joining us. It's Friday evening. Where we are. Where are you? Are you in Canada?
West Coast, Canada.
West Coast, Canada, Vancouver.
Yep.
Nice. I got it right.
And you?
Well done. Well done.
Oh, so we're in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, wow. God's country.
Well,
somebody's country, yeah, for sure. Depends on the day, depends on the day.
Ultimately, it belongs to God. Some other people may be making claims on it, but that's a whole other story.
Right. Well, I just want you to just go ahead and jump in with like your origin story and how you got to be the man that you are today. And
oh my God, have you got 82 years?
You
got 82 years. I'll tell you everything.
I love it.
Gonna have to do the succinct version.
I was born in 1942 in Europe, in a place that was then part of Germany, but is before and after was part of Poland. My parents came from Latvia and Estonia. They had a hard life. They went through the First World War, then they went through the Bolshevik Revolution, then they went through the Depression, and then they went through the Second World War.
Wow.
And when Hitler and Stalin made their non-aggression pact, Latvia went to the Soviet Union and part of Poland went to Germany. But there was nobody from Poland or from Latvia at the meeting. So they just took it because they were big and these places were small. Mm-hmm. I was born on a stolen farm in Poland where the farmer was, my father had a farm in Latvia and he was given a farm in Poland, and the Polish farmer whose farm it was became his farmhand. You can imagine There was a little bit of tension there. So my dad said to him, look, we live in really crazy times, kind of like crazy times now. And let's just run the farm the way the farm needs to be run. And when all this stuff settles out, we'll sort it out. They became really good friends and they helped us get out. When the war ended, we were refugees, mothers with young children on dirt roads, on horse-drawn hay wagons, fleeing with the communists chasing us in tanks and trucks. And the Allies, which we like to think of as the good guys, right, because we live in Allied territory, mm-hmm. They were using us refugees as target practice, shooting at us from planes. And there was no military presence on those roads. They're dirt roads. There was dead horses and dead people in the ditches. My mother decided that it was safer to go through the snow-covered fields than to stay on the road. But she had 6 kids with her, so she had to leave 4 of us behind, 4 kids behind. I was one left behind. I ended up in an orphanage. And eventually her sister found out what happened, and she came and found us and reunited us with the family. I would say that was a very refreshing experience. I was always very shy, sort of like this. I loved books because books were safe. And I never knew what I could trust, and I never felt safe. And I remember being hungry. And I look at it and I say, what a gift that was, because we got everything taken away. The culture was gone, the farm was gone, the house was gone, the fields were gone, the animals were gone, the community was gone, the friends were gone, everything was gone. And so in order to try and understand how to live on the planet, I basically had to start from scratch and figure it out. And so I was always trying to figure out how things work. And that set me up for studying science, because I always wanted to know. It's, when you know how something works, it becomes predictable and controllable. That's what science is about, predict and control. And I went into science to find out how things work. And I went into biosciences to figure out how creatures work. And then I went into psychology to figure out how thinking works. And then I went into medicine because I wanted to know what health is. But we actually never learned about health in medicine. We learned about disease. And I went to the dean and said to him, hey, I came here to study health. It's called healthcare. What is health? He said, we don't know. We're working on it. And then we were also told that a doctor should always sound as though he knows what's going on, even when he doesn't.
That's scary.
And we called that lying on the farm. And that ended my medical career. I went back into biochemistry and genetics because I didn't feel like I wanted to lie to people to make my living. There was just something not right with that. And then there was still stuff missing, and I then left university and started looking at other issues, because I never found out what life is in biology. Biology is the study of life. We learned about form and function, but not life. In psychology, study of soul, we learned about beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, but nothing about soul. And I somehow thought that soul and life, there was something there that this got to be important. Everywhere there's life on the planet, what exactly is life? I want to know what exactly is life. And in the end, I found out that if you want to learn about human nature, which honestly should be the most important topic on the planet for human beings, right? And we don't have a teachable field of human nature, and we don't have a teachable field of total health either. And we've been here for a long time. And these are like the most important things we've got. And it's like, why don't we have that? And what I found out eventually is that the teachers of human nature were not the scientists. They don't like to go subjective. They like to do objective reality out there. But life is subjective reality. And the teachers of that were the great masters. They were teachers of human nature. And they talked, and what is a teacher of human nature? Well, it can't be just academic, because human nature, there's so much more to human nature than mind. So they have to embody human nature to be able to talk coherently and effectively and inspiringly about it. So who were those? Buddha, Krishna, Ram, Socrates was in the league, Christ was in the league. And then there's a whole bunch of other so-called masters or teachers who had things to say about human nature and how to live, and who always said, of all of the things that we do, we should do that first, right? It goes, kingdom of heaven's within. First seek the kingdom, and then everything else will come, everything else will fall into place. I'm obviously paraphrasing. And so I've decided that I wanted to know what the master experienced. So that would have to be an experience of human nature. I wanted to know what it was like, because we learn about everything else. We know how to hammer boards and nails to build houses, but we don't know what the human body is. We don't know what a human being is. Not in terms of awareness, not in terms of life energy, not in terms of inspiration. We do a little bit of form and function or food and fitness in physical health. Mm-hmm. But then we have survival smarts is an issue. That's the protective part of mind. Then there's social group, and then there's natural environment, and then there's the big picture. And all of those are part of learning about total health or human nature, or how to live effectively on a planet. And so most of the best stuff that I learned did not come from my 8 years at university in science. It actually came from sitting still and bringing focus inside the space that my body occupies and looking and listening and feeling into that space. And what is there in that space? Oh, that's because that's where I live. Right? So you want to know who are you? You got to spend time with yourself. So, and then I got poisoned by pesticides, and then I used my biochemistry background to try to figure out how to get healthy because the doctors didn't have anything for pesticide poisoning. And I ended up looking at all the research in nutrition and health, nutrition and disease, because the body's made out of food plus water and air, but I was just thinking nutrition at that point. And then got stuck in fats because fats was the most complicated area. And I read one study that says omega-6 is an essential nutrient, which means you can't make it, but you have to have it. So you have to bring it in from outside. If you don't get enough long enough, you die. And if you bring it in before you die, well, when you're deficient and going down, then all of the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed, because life knows how to make the body, provided we make sure we get the building blocks. So that's what essential means. So one study says omega-6 is an essential nutrient, and the very next study I read says omega-6 gives you cancer and kills you. And I'm going, what? Hey, I have to have it and then it kills me? And then it was like trying to figure out that contradiction forced me to look deeper. And I started finding out how oils are made. When oils are made, they're treated with harsh chemicals, and then they're bleached, and then they go rancid, and they smell bad, and then they have to heat it to frying temperature for about half an hour in frying. So you're frying the oil for half an hour before it goes in the bottle, before it gets put on the shelf, before anybody buys it. Huh. And in that process, about 1% of the molecules of the oil are damaged, half to 1%, depending on what kind of fatty acids are in the oil. So 1%. So I went to the Oil Chemist Society, who are the umbrella organization of the oil industry, which is a $200 billion a year industry. It's a big industry. And I said, I want to talk to somebody. I don't get something. I want some clarity here. They put somebody on the line with me, a researcher. And I said, why, when you know that this processing damages oils, why do you do that? And so there was a long silence at the end of the phone, like it might have been only 3 seconds, but it seemed like a really long time. And then he came back and he was angry. He said, well, I don't know what your problem is. The oil is only 1% damaged. It's 99% good. And if you got 99% on an exam, you'd be damn happy, wouldn't you? So now it's like, okay, well, maybe 1%. Maybe I'm overreacting. So let me do the math. And so you do the math. To do the math is okay. My question is, if you have a tablespoon of an oil that is being treated the way the industry treats it, with sodium hydroxide, phosphoric acid, bleached, and then heated to frying temperature to deodorize it, how many damaged molecules will be in that tablespoon? And I always ask people to guess because we don't know how big molecules are. And so we don't know how many molecules are in a tablespoon of oil. Well, molecules are super tiny. So you have to get a lot of molecules in a tablespoon of oil. And if it's 1% damaged, there are 60 quintillion damaged molecules in that 1 tablespoon of 1% damaged oil. 60 quintillion. It's a 6 followed by 19 zeros. And when I ask people to guess, they always guess at least 1 billion times too low. Sometimes more than 1 trillion. Sometimes 1 quadrillion times too low. Because people don't know. They don't have the background to know how many molecules. 60 quintillion is a 6 followed by 19 zeros. And it's more than a million damaged molecules for every one of the body's 60 trillion cells. 1 million molecules that never existed in nature, that get into the body. Wherever they go, they interfere with what's supposed to be going on there. Now, that's not all. That's a tablespoon. Most people use 2 to 4 a day. So you have to multiply that in. There's pesticides in the oil, so you have to take those into account. Oils swell plastic when you put them in plastic bottles, which all the oils are in, most of the oils are in plastic bottles now. So then plastic leaches into the oil. That doesn't belong in the body either. And then if you use those oils that are already 1% damaged for frying, you end up with maybe 3 to 6 times more damaged molecules in that tablespoon of oil So you got to multiply that in. So we're up to like 10 million damaged molecules for every cell in the body. 10 million. Now in genetics, we learned.
This is specifically omega oil?
This is all of the oils, all of the colorless, odorless, tasteless oils.
Okay.
So corn and safflower and sunflower and sesame and almond. The only one that isn't treated that way is extra virgin olive oil, if it is really extra virgin olive oil, because people cheat on that because the demand for olive oil grew a lot faster than the supply. The olive trees grow very slowly. But it's all of the colorless, odorless, tasteless oils have been treated that way. And then they're going to have 0.5 to 1% damaged molecules. And how many they exactly depends on how many omega-6s and how many omega-3s are in the oil. Because omega-3 gets damaged 5 times quicker than omega-6. Omega-6 gets 2.5 times damaged 2.5 times faster than omega-9, which is a monounsaturated oil, which is not essential. And omega-9s get damaged 2.5 times quicker than saturated fats. So depending on what the ratio of saturated to monounsaturated to omega-6 to omega-3 is, will determine what exactly that number is between 0.5 to 1, maybe even more than 1 for some of the oils, okay? And so, we learned in genetics that in order to change gene expression in a cell, in a bacterial cell, you only need 2 molecules of something in its environment. That's how sensitive our genetic material is. So for bacteria, only 2. Well, human cells are bigger than that. They're maybe 100 times bigger. Let's say they're 1,000 times bigger. They're not that much bigger. But so instead of 2, you might need 2,000. You're getting more than 1 million. You're getting more than 10 million if you use it for frying, right? So does that mean it's going to change gene expression. Gene expression is determined by what's in the environment, because gene expression is an adaptation to what's going on in the environment. And the genes have to change because you need to keep the body intact and able to function normally in different environments. The environments are always changing. You want to keep the body constant. So genes have to be very adaptable, very flexible. So you get that much bad gene expression, because poisons are poisonous because they affect gene expression in a negative way, in a way that is negative to health. And so I thought, oh my God, I can't get healthy on oils that are made like this. We should make oils with health in mind. And so I then developed a method for doing that. So the oils they're damaged by light, oxygen, and heat. And so they have to be made in a way where no light, oxygen, heat can damage the oil from the time it's closed in the seed, which is nature's packaging, which is pretty good, through the pressing, the filtering, the settling, the filling, till they're in a brown glass bottle, because you don't want them in plastic, because plastic leaches into oil, in a box to cut out all the light, in the fridge to keep the temperature down, in the factory, and then in the stores, and then at home. So that's what we did to make oils, which are the most sensitive of all of our nutrients, with health in mind. And if you look at where our physical causes of our physical illnesses come from, the big word is processing. You're changing what nature made into something that never existed in nature. It's always processing. And the worst thing we've ever invented to do for health, for our health, is frying. Because when you fry an oil, you damage it in the frying pan by the simultaneous effect of light, oxygen, and heat all at the same time. And when you fry foods, whether it's proteins or fats or carbs, when you fry, you increase inflammation and you increase the risk of cancer, each one independent of the others. So that's what we've done with oils.
Okay. So the oils that you are making, you still would not want to fry with those oils, right?
Correct. In fact, the better the oil is for you, the more care it needs. And so the more care it needs, the more damaged it will become when you don't give it the care. So if the omega-3s will be damaged most, omega-6s quite badly, omega-9 somewhat, saturated somewhat, less, right? But even saturated fat, when you burn food, you're turning molecules into carcinogenic molecules, right? If you, I mean, whether it's the crust on bread, the brown, right, goes from whatever color it is naturally, then it goes to yellow, then it goes to brown, then it goes to black, and then it turns into smoke, right? And you're doing damage to the molecules. You're changing natural molecules that are good for health, that nature knows, that life knows how to deal with in the body. You turn them into molecules that never existed in nature, that are not supposed to be in the body, and that interfere when they get into the body, right? And so the idea was, well, we have to make oils with health in mind, because these are the most sensitive nutrients. They need the most care. Let's give them the care they need. You know, more health problems come from damaged oil than any other part of nutrition. Sugar is next, but fats are worse.
When you don't hear that often.
No, nobody talks about it.
I've heard that fats were worse than sugar.
No, although there are now some people saying you shouldn't use seed oils and you shouldn't use omega-6s, and they're really, really bad. But they're blaming the omega-6, which is an essential fatty acid that you have to live and be healthy. They're blaming that for damage that is done by processing. And they should be blaming the damage, not the essential nutrient, for the problems that are caused by these oils. They haven't done their homework. They've done half their homework, you know, and then the studies are done on damaged oils. Then you get negative results, but nobody points at the damage done by processing as the cause. They blame the oil. And these are people who've done half their homework. They haven't looked deep enough. We did that 40 years ago because it just struck me as completely impossible that omega-6 should be an essential nutrient and at the same time should give me cancer and kill me. So they say, no, I must be missing something. And I didn't know what it was, but it's the damage done by processes that becomes the issue.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you eat cooked food at all or no?
I grew up like everybody else did. We ate cooked food. We didn't do a lot of frying. We lived on a farm without electricity for part of my childhood, so we didn't have refrigeration. So we only had meat once a week. My father would drive into town, and he had a butcher with a freezer where he had all his meat cuts from a quarter of beef. So we would have beef once a week, and we had a huge garden. And so we eat lots of vegetables. As I've gotten older, and I've just, I'm not theoretically based. I mean, I know the theory, but I pay attention to what my body tells me quite a bit. And so as I've gotten older, I have found I do better on plant-based. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you look at nature, what was nature's standard for food for the creatures that eat? Well, actually, it was fresh, whole, raw, organic, mostly in season, and local. Right? Every creature eats like that except for us.
Right.
Right? And every step you take away from that, you eventually pay a price. Because what you're doing is you're going from fresh, whole, raw, organic, local, and sun-ripe. You're going from that to white flour, white sugar, fried oils, right? And then with synthetic additives put in it that never existed in nature, and we are arrogant and stupid enough as human beings to think we can just do anything we want and there'll be no consequences.
Well, yeah, because then it's the doctor that's supposed to fix you.
Yeah. And the doctor is not trained in fresh, whole, raw, organic eating, right?
Take this pill.
And then he's trained to give you substances that also didn't exist in nature called pharmaceutical drugs. Mm-hmm. And they have side effects because they don't belong in the body.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle we're in.
Right? Yeah. And then, and in a way you can blame the doctors, but it's not the doctors. They go in wanting to help people pretty much. And they learn and they think, well, we live in the richest country in the world, so this must be the best healthcare system we have, and the medical curriculum was written by the pharmaceutical industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Started about 120 years ago. The Rockefellers were involved in it. They bought all the natural health schools and they demonized everybody. And then because you can patent unnatural molecules, and then you can protect monopoly profits for 20 years. Used to be 17, now it's 20. And so it's good business. And it's also good business to keep people sick, so do symptom suppression, but never do health establishment, right? So it's good business. It's good business, but it's not good for health. And ultimately, it's not good for business either, you know? And you know, it goes back to when we're out of touch with ourselves because we don't spend time with ourselves, connecting to life and nature and God. And then when we're disconnected from that, and the peace and the love and the inspiration that are the foundation of our existence, then we get in our head. In our head, killing is just the same as loving. The mind makes no distinction between. The heart does, the mind does not. So when we don't live from the heart, then anything goes. And so, you know, there's like we could do 10 episodes just on that topic.
Sure.
Right.
But getting back to the oil, so you are credited as inventing flaxseed oil. How did that come about?
Well, when
I don't even know what a flaxseed is, actually.
You don't know what it is?
No. What's a flaxseed?
Well, flax is
fiber?
It's also called linseed. It's also the plant from which linen is made.
Cotton. I thought linen was made from.
Cotton is one kind of fiber that clothes are made from, and linen is another. Linen is more durable and it's a little bit harder. Cotton is a little bit softer.
Okay.
But there is flax or linseed plants that are grown for the fiber for clothing, and there is linseeds that are grown for the seeds that contain the oil. So they're different cultivars, but it's the same plant, flax. And has a long history. It was used thousands of years ago. They found flax seeds in Stone Age caves in Switzerland. And those flax seeds, they planted them and they still grew. That's how good the packaging of seeds is by nature's. It's pretty remarkable. 5,000-year-old seeds, and they still grow a plant out of that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So it's a seed that grows in the northern country. The more far north it grows, the more omega-3s it contains, because omega-3s are kind of polar oils, North Pole, South Pole, because they have a lot of energy. And in cold weather, you need that energy to keep warm. But also the fish that have omega-3s, they can get going in cold water when they're fleeing from a seal, because fish are cold water animals. They need something that gets them energy to move when it's cold. The seal is warm-blooded, so it's always got energy. So how does the fish get away? Omega-3s. Omega-3 is the highest energy molecule of all of our energy molecules. And so it grows in the northern countries. If you go to a health food store, you could probably, or go on Google, look for flax seeds, find somebody who can send you a little package of flax seeds.
I mean, I've seen it. I just never, I guess my question was, what inspired you to turn that into an oil to sell?
Oh, because I found out that 99% of the population doesn't get enough omega-3s for optimum health. So this is like and every cell needs them. And they're a nightmare to work with because they're so super sensitive to damage by light, oxygen, heat. And if we could bring them back, oh my God, we could help every cell in almost every human being. I got inspired by that. And flax happens to be the only source of omega-3s that's very rich in omega-3s and only has a little bit of omega-6. And most people are getting way too much omega-6 and way too little omega-3. And the balance is poor. So we thought we fixed the balance by making flaxseed oil. I knew the what's in flaxseed oil. I knew that. And then I said, like, this is worth, oils are part of food. They enhance flavors and they improve the absorption of oil-soluble nutrients in our foods. So having oil with food is good if it's a good oil. And so we decided we would make oils with health in mind because they're being made with shelf life in mind, and that required all this damaging processing. And I was poisoned by pesticides, so for me, health was a big deal.
Sure.
So I wanted to do something and then do it that not just say it's good when it wasn't, but actually put in the effort to make it the way it needs to be made. It's a lot of work to do that because they're so sensitive. Yeah.
And then, so how are you consuming it? Do you take spoonfuls or you drip it over your salad?
Yeah, well, oils belong.
Coffee, what are you doing?
Oils belong in food. So there are people who say take it off a spoon. I never recommend that because oil tastes like oil and some people don't like the taste or the texture, But when you put oils in food, they enhance flavors and they improve absorption of the nutrients. So what we say is a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day mixed in food and intake spread out over the course of the day. If you take oil off a spoon and your liver is not strong, you might feel heavy, tired, or nauseous. And that's your liver saying, don't give me so much so fast. So that's why we mix it in food and then we spread it out over the course of the day. And you get your 2 to 4 tablespoons and you get enough to make your skin soft and velvety. That's how you know that you've optimized your intake, because skin gets them last and loses them first. And that's because your heart and your liver and your kidneys and your brain and your other inner organs get priority on the oil because you can live with dry skin. But if your heart or your liver or your kidneys or your brain dried out, you'd be history.
Right.
So nature gives them priority. And when your skin is soft and velvety, that's because you're getting enough so that all of your organs have it, all your glands have it, and you've got enough to get it to the skin.
Oh, well, that's good to know. I did not know that.
Fascinating. Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. And then we've seen people, we did works with athletes. If they did a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day of the blend that we created, so I got omega-6 deficient on flax oil. So we made a blend where the ratio between omega-3 and 6, both of which are essential, is better, and both are made with health in mind. And we gave that to athletes, and within 30 days of starting to take it at a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day, within 30 days, if they did their sport to exhaustion, they ended up with 40 to 60% increase in performance. And we did it with runners and cyclists and martial artists and boxers, weightlifters, bodybuilders, you name it, we worked with them, and very consistently. Their injuries healed in a third to half the time because essential fatty acids are required for wound healing. So very good in plastic surgery and any surgery, actually. They keep bones strong because they inhibit the bone breakdown cells. They increase IQ by 3 to 9 points. And again, that's because the brain is very fat-rich organ, and most people don't get enough omega-3s. Right. So they don't get enough omega-3s in their brain either. Super important for pregnancy, because when a woman is pregnant, she needs to build a brain. She needs to maintain the brain in her head, but she needs to build another whole brain in her womb. Mm-hmm. And if she doesn't get enough omega-3s, then the child will take them from her brain, and the child will get some priority over it because nature says, kids the future, mom's the past. If we have to,
second time I've heard this today.
Absolutely.
If we have to sacrifice the past to protect the future, we'll do that.
Right.
And so they've shown that each child gets less than the previous child in a family, that each child depletes the mother further. They think it's why the oldest kids on average have the highest IQ. There are other factors involved, but on average, and the youngest kids have the lowest IQ. And it's also why women get 2 to 15 times more depression, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, collagen, inflammatory, and autoimmune diseases than men do. And they say it's because of the depletion of essential fatty acids, especially omega-3, during pregnancy, that sets women up for these conditions in a way that men never get set up. And so they say women need to make sure they get a reliable source of both essential fatty acids in their diet, and I would say in the right ratio and both undamaged, both for their own health and the health of their children. Super important. Hair grows 25% faster, your nails grow better, You don't get the split end hair and the cracked nails. Liver and kidney function require essential fatty acids. If I've missed any part of the body, that requires it too. It's just like that. They're so basic. They're so basic. Out of the 42 essential nutrients that the body can't make but has to have. 2 come from fats. None come from carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the least important food. 9 come from proteins. And then there are 13 vitamins and 18 minerals. Body can't make those, has to get them from outside. If it doesn't get them, it goes down. If it doesn't get enough of any one of them long enough, it dies. And if you bring them back in adequate quantities before you die, because by definition, death is not reversible. So if you bring them back before you die, all of the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed. That's a definition of essential. And there's still 42 essential nutrients. And the one of most often missing, like I said before, omega-3.
Omega-3.
Too low. Yeah, and omega-3 is really hard to work with. And you can't just do fish oil. Fish oil is so damaged. Fish oil is 5 times more sensitive than the plant omega-3. And that's why if you get fish oil in a bottle, you open it up and you put it in your fridge, you can smell it, the rancidity, in a couple of days. And when you drink it, you get those ugly burps. That's how easily the oil is damaged. And the industry kind of treats them like the industry treats the seed oils. So damage is done by the processing, but nobody talks about it.
Except you.
Except me.
Except you. And is that what you go into in your book, Fats That Heal and Fats That Kill?
Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill is an overview of the whole territory. So it's about marketing, it's about the molecules, it's about the processing, and it's about how oil should be made for health. So there's a lot of stuff in it. And it's kind of like it's kind of like a foundational book. There's sometimes you get a book in a particular topic that becomes the go-to book. Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill is that book.
Okay.
Yeah. Took me 6 years to write its predecessor, and then another 6 years to update it, enlarge it. So it's like a lot. I had to move in with my mother to write the book because I got poisoned by pesticides. I was writing the book. What I was learning, I said, man, there must be other people who could benefit from it. And so I moved in with my mother and wrote that book on a clack, clack, clack portable typewriter. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, these days, yeah. What are you talking about? You guys used to do what? What do you mean? You cut trees down with saws? Really? You chopped wood with axes? Really? Yep.
Awesome.
Anyway, so that's the point. The point of the book is like they basically use it in nutrition schools and as the book on fats.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very, very thorough.
Well, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you would like the listener to know?
Well, if it's about oils,
whatever is most important to you.
Most important to me, I have to say we live in a time when we are destroying ourselves, each other, and the planet because we're not doing the homework that we were recommended to do first, which is to bring our focus back to our hearts and feel the love there and feel the peace there, and then live into the world from that love and from that peace and from that inspiration. That homework is personal homework for everybody. 8 billion people need to do that homework. And if you could hook me up with the 8 billion people on the planet, I would want to do that topic as the key pop, because, a time will come when oil won't work for you anymore because the body is a terminal condition, right? Mm-hmm. But peace is formless and indestructible, and that's your universal source, and it's the source of everything on the planet, and it's the source of the universe. It comes out of peace, and peace is everywhere, but only peace knows that, and your access to peace is within the core of your own being.
Absolutely.
When you feel it, and when you feel the peace there, then you realize that peace is not limited to your body, that you are a point of peace that goes out from that point to infinity. So that's the universe we live in. Some people call that God. That's probably a good definition. God has the most boring job because it can't go anywhere, because wherever it goes, it's already there. Right? So, and then within that piece, our individual essence is unconditional, empowering love. That is a fraction of solar energy that is stored in bonds between atoms. When we eat those atoms as food, or those molecules as food, then those bonds are broken. The solar energy fraction is released. Now we call it life energy. And life energy is the master inside the body that weighs nothing, runs everything, is unconditional, empowering love, and is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient in your body. And when you feel that, again, you have to bring your focus into the space your body occupies. When you feel that, you feel so cared for that it's not about you anymore. It's like, oh my God, I'm taken care of. So I don't have to worry about myself anymore. Right? Is it when you don't feel cared for, then it's always, what can I do that'll get me taken care of? When you feel it, I'm taken care of. So what is there to do? Oh, there's nothing left to do in my life except to help. And all of a sudden, my life is really simple. I'll do what needs to be done. I'll try to make the biggest splash for good I can do in the time I have. And I'll help wherever I can with whatever talents I have. If we do that, that's the most important thing that needs to happen on this planet for every human being.
Nice.
Sold.
Huh?
Sold.
So
Sold, yeah. Sold.
Where can the listeners find more about you?
Okay, well, when it comes to this, that's the wrong question, because they need to find out more about themselves.
Okay.
Right? But UdoErasmus.com. I'm not hard to find. Udo Erasmus. If you look me up on Google, I'm on the Udo Erasmus is on the first page. If you get the spelling right. I have a YouTube channel, Udo Erasmus. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram.
On all the things.
I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, and I have a website called UdoErasmus.com. There's another one, udoschoice.com. I'm not hard to find.
Cool.
And,
well, listener, if you don't worry, if you can't write that down or can't look it up right now, I'll have the information in the show notes.
Yep.
Well, I learned a lot. Thank you so much for your time. Definitely look forward to chatting with you again as well. Listener, I hope you found this educational, informational, somewhat entertaining, and until next time.
Thanks for subscribing to Your Infinite Health. I'm Dr. Tripp.
And I'm Lene. Until next time, feel it, look it, and live it.